So the crypto market is in shambles. It absolutely collapsed on Friday. And I just want to say that if you were one of the people that lost a lot of money, I am truly and deeply sorry for you. I would not wish that on my worst enemy. However, there were signs, and I want to go over those signs that we had and what we've been talking about on the channel, because at the end of the day, we know that nothing is certain, even crypto, even amongst all this demand that there supposedly is. Nothing is ever 100% in trading, and this is the game that we sign up for. Okay, so the best that we can do is learn from this experience and apply it moving forward. So please don't take anything I say in this video as condescending. I'm truly just trying to help. Okay, so we're going to start with USDT Dominance. Okay, because if you've been around the channel, you know that I've been following USDT Dominance. I've been pretty accurate about everything. Okay, and on October the 1st, 12 days ago, I did say uptober or one more crypto flush. I was careful to use the word crypto flush because I did expect a flush to happen. Okay, now at the time, we had put in our manipulation range here and we started rolling over again. Okay, go back and watch this video if you don't know what I'm talking about, because I don't have time to go over the whole thing. But we were, long story short, when we were down here, we were calling for a potential PO3. The Nexus and I were prepared for this for over a month and a half in advance, where we were expecting the market to dump. We were going to get a PO3 here, and then we were going to get our euphoric state right over here. Okay, now I was saying that when we were up here, this manipulation didn't make sense in terms of time relative to the range. Okay, what that means is your range, as you can see, was about 72 days, give or take, and your manipulation, what I thought was going to be at least 2 weeks or so, ended up only being 3 days. So I started to question, does it really make sense for us to have a manipulative move of only 3 days, where you had almost 2.5 months of accumulation here, only to get a little Mickey Mouse baby manipulation to then send price down to where I believe the euphoric state was going to start and our bear market was going to begin? Well, the answer was no. Okay, so we were proceeding with extreme caution, and that was the point in which I said we may actually receive an extended PO3, which might have looked something like this, where your range actually included that new manipulative phase. Your range would have been like this. Your expansion, or your manipulation would have been somewhere up here. Okay, and then your expansion would have been down from here. So basically the same idea, but on a longer time frame. Okay, I was suspecting that it was going to happen over a longer period of time and over a higher price range. Now, none of that actually happened in terms of the extended PO3. What ended up happening instead was the market makers came down and swept out these equal lows, which, by the way, is a very key element to my idea of getting a PO3. The idea behind the PO3, and we spoke about this in that video, but the idea behind that PO3 is that we don't typically want to leave, we don't typically want to be sweeping these lows, right? If you leave these equal lows, then this gives a clear target to come back for. So this makes longing the market when you're up here very easy, because you have a very clear target. When we came down and we had this fake, well, I guess it was a fake manipulation now, but when we came down and we had this manipulation and it wasn't long enough, and I was kind of like raising an eyebrow, I was a little bit like, I don't know if that looks right. When we were coming down, I wasn't actually expecting to come and sweep these lows. I thought we were going to bounce somewhere off of here, come up, and then, like I said, form that higher time frame PO3 and then come down. What ended up happening was we swept those lows. Okay, we did hit a demand zone, so the Nexus was ready for that as well. And then we obviously had our capitulation. Now, the idea remains the same. Remember, I'm human. I'm not always going to be right, and I'm definitely not always going to be right in terms of the timing and how the move actually transpires. But I was calling for a capitulation. I was calling for, a crash. And it was simply just based off of USDT dominance. Very, very simple analysis, especially with the way that I trade. It wasn't very difficult to see that something big was happening and that move was likely going to be to the downside. Okay. Now, this is the part that kind of I wasn't prepared for. I was not expecting this huge ass wick. I don't think anybody was. And since then, we can now pull up RTA since we understand the overall narrative. What I thought was going to happen was we were going to come up, again, range up here, give or take, maybe somewhere up here, and then roll over. What actually ended up happening is we came up and we hit the absolute last supply zone, okay, before, in my opinion, the bear market. So what I think is that if USDT dominance goes anywhere above this supply zone, the bear market is over. And we had a very clear case of that, all right? Some of the alts were down 80%. So it's not like we didn't have a huge move. We obviously had a huge move, and we had a reaction off of a very key supply. Now, this is important, because we didn't leave supply behind. This has now been tagged, which means this has now been mitigated, okay? Which means, in my opinion, now the crypto market may actually have enough juice to send price over, okay? Or to send USDT dominance over, which would mean to pump the market. Okay, so my idea overall to get the PO3 here, and then this is where you get the euphoric state, could still happen. But now we have a huge wick that we had to deal with. And then now we're trading exactly where my original PO3 idea would have been. So I was expecting the PO3 to go here and then roll over, as opposed to it pumping up, producing this massive wick, and then having that. Okay, so that is the overall idea and the overall narrative in terms of USDT dominance. So do I think that the bull run is over? Right now, I'm 50-50 on it. I think there's a bullish case and there's a bearish case to be made. Okay, I think it's foolish to just assume that it's not over. I also think it's foolish to assume that it is over. And the reason why is because you can see very clear in broad daylight here, we have a 1 tap, a 2 tap, a 3 tap accumulation on USDT dominance, which is already the 3rd tap of a higher time frame accumulation. So if this is not the end, I think that the end could be very close, and it makes sense to be the end. Now, the only thing that makes it a little bit difficult is that we had this huge wick and we had an instant buyback on the market. And the problem with the buyback is that the buyback ended up closing basically on the break of structure line, give or take. And now we're ranging up here, which tells me what? I cannot objectively call this a break of structure because we have a massive wick and now we're hanging around like that break of structure area. So can I say with clear conviction that the bull run is over and that this accumulation model is going to play out and send crypto to the abyss? Well, no, objectively, I cannot do that because this is not a clear break of structure. Had this wick not have gotten bought back up and we were hanging around up here, I would say, yeah, guys, we're probably in the bear market now. But that didn't happen, which means that I'm still open to the idea of getting that euphoric run. Remember, I called the PO3. Didn't happen exactly the way that I thought it would, but it happened in a different way, okay? It wasn't mirrored, but it was close, okay? It wasn't identical, it rhymed, right? So could my PO3 idea here and then rotate down to this M1A zone still play out? Absolutely it can. Remember, if you don't know what I'm talking about, go watch the other videos in this playlist that I'm posting this to, because it's all there, okay? I don't have time to go over the entire thing. Can that happen? Absolutely it can. So now what would that look like for Bitcoin and the rest of the market? Elephant in the room. Well, maybe not an elephant, but so I called this crypto crash. The day before the crash, I also said crypto's crashing. And then I said when alt season. And I was talking about how I think that alt season is very close on the horizon. Why was I saying that? I thought, and I was absolutely wrong about this, but I thought that Bitcoin dominance was actually going to start rolling over at this green level. Okay, as you can see by my big arrow, I thought we were going to come down to here. When we were down here on Bitcoin dominance and we flipped this structure internally, I said, I'm like, guys, Nexus, we're probably heading up for this green box where we may get that rotation down. At the time that that happens, we are probably supposed to be shorting Bitcoin and not the altcoins because Bitcoin dominance is going to roll over, is what I thought, okay? Now, this idea isn't so far off from my idea either, right? Obviously, obviously we had a very big wick. Okay, that's fine. We're not really trading Bitcoin dominance per se, but where are we right now? We are back at where my green box is and back to my idea where I thought that Bitcoin dominance was going to roll over from this general area and hit 5.7 or 57.95, and then we're going to reassess, okay? Why is that important? That's important because here's your capitulation wick, okay? Your inverse capitulation wick on Bitcoin dominance. And my idea, which was one day before that, which was somewhere here, I thought we were going to roll over from here, was that Bitcoin dominance was going to roll over and it's time to long the alts and it's time to short Bitcoin. Like when it's time to short, we short Bitcoin. When it's time to long, we long the alts, right? So we're still exactly where we were at the time of the capitulation, which is kind of my point, right? Like USDT dominance is doing or has the potential to do the idea that I thought it could do minus that huge wick, which nobody could have anticipated, right? And Bitcoin dominance is no different. I absolutely believe Bitcoin dominance is going to roll over starting, you know, potentially now. Now, we obviously need to reassess. Things can change, and that huge wick kind of changes things. But the overall idea was that Bitcoin dominance was going to roll over. Why is that important now? And that's important because of a few things. So on the channel, and by the way, I've been saying this for quite a while, okay? My channel specifically, and correct me if I'm wrong, okay? I've been relatively bearish on altcoins specifically for this exact reason, okay? For really the conception of my channel, okay? We're trading it, right? I longed the exact low of Ethereum and whatnot, but I'm not talking about trading. I'm talking about, we'll call it investing, or we're talking about the whole market as a whole. I've been relatively bearish on the altcoins, right? And you guys know, and I'm not here to play victim and whatever, but This is the last time I promised that we talk about it because of this capitulation, but you guys know that, you know, I've been labeled a perma bear, right? Yo, you're a perma bear, perma bear, perma bear. And the reason why I've been labeled a perma bear is because all I do is talk about liquidity and I can't help but to look down, okay? And so when you have things like Solana, which by the way, in this video, I did talk about Solana and I did talk about the liquidity that we have to the downside on Solana, okay? When you have liquidity like this, and I also made YouTube shorts about it, so I encourage you, if you are new here, hit the like button and subscribe. But I encourage you to go watch my YouTube shorts because I did discuss this liquidity exactly, okay? By the way, we did short the exact tippy top of Solana in the Nexus, by the way, and the ultimate target was 155. I'm also long from like 157 or something. So I caught the long. That was a super knife catch long. It's only 10 Solana, so it's nothing big, but I'm going to hold this up forever. Okay, we'll see how long I can hold it for. Anyways, when you have liquidity to the downside like this, right, they tend to make a run for that liquidity, right? Whether you like it, whether I like it, or whether anybody else likes it or not, they tend to run for liquidity. And so when people say that, oh, this was insider trading and it was Trump's fault and whatever, I wouldn't necessarily say that. Maybe there was an insider trader, that guy that profited 100 million Bitcoin or $100 million off the Bitcoin short or whatever. In terms of the timing, sure, maybe he, you know, was an insider or something like that. But did Trump cause this crash? I would say no. I would say Trump maybe enhanced the trap or the crash. Very well could have enhanced it. Did he cause it? I don't think so. I think that this would have happened anyway. And it's simply because of the liquidity. And like I said, go on my channel, watch the YouTube shorts, watch my videos. I've been talking about it. Okay. And so this, you know, fact remains true across the board. Like I said, I've been relatively bearish on crypto, on especially the altcoins. I was wrong about Bitcoin. I was super wrong about Bitcoin. And I conceded to Bitcoin. Okay. This is, if you, like I said, if you've been around the channel, then you know, like I had some notoriously bad calls. And the good thing about being wrong is that for me personally, anyways, I don't lose, I learn. So, right, like this range here, I was right on the dollar, honestly, for about 3/4 of that range. And the last quarter of the range, I was completely wrong on, right? But that last quarter led me to learn. So now I don't make the mistake when we're down here, for example, or when we're here, or when we're here on the inverse, right? So, you know, Bitcoin obviously had a lot of liquidity that it could go for. I thought it was going to go for that liquidity. It didn't do that. Now, if we, again, go to a lot of these altcoins have quite a bit of liquidity. Look at what happened January of this year, for example, on Solana. Solana had all this liquidity, all these lows. What did it do? Solana came down and swept that low. Okay. No different than this big flush right here. It had all this liquidity. Let me zoom in so you guys can see. Had all this liquidity. What did it do? It came down and it flushed it. And this is the same across the board. Okay. Just take a look at what you see. Just open your eyes. You'll see the liquidity. Guys, you don't need heat maps and liquidation maps and whatever. Just take a look at the board. What do you see here? That's nothing but liquidity, my friends. There's nothing but liquidity. And this is why I'm a little bit skeptical. This is why I've been quote unquote perma bear on all these assets, because when you don't properly accumulate, this is what happens, right? I want to show you one that I notoriously called, okay? If you've been around in the channel and you're around June, okay? I was saying, and again, if I'm wrong, someone tell me that I'm wrong in the comments. And I guarantee you're not going to see any comments about this because I was not wrong about this. Back in June, I was saying that the low across the board is not in until Cardano hits 50 cents. And if you're following me on Twitter, you would see it. Okay, so make sure to go follow me. The link is in the description down below. If you follow me on Twitter, you'll see I was saying that the low across the board is not in until ADA hits the low. Why? Because these are 3 equal lows. It makes no sense for them to have come up here, come all the way back down to only not sweep out these lows and then go up to new all-time highs and beyond, okay? So I was telling everybody 50 cent ADA is until the low comes in. Now, until then, what they ended up doing was, I mean, a whole bunch of up and down, ranging, whatever. This is a clear as day distribution. It's easy to see in hindsight. But nonetheless, the idea was right. The timing, I wasn't necessarily was going to hit by a certain amount of time, but this is a good testament to how you could be right and things could just take way longer than you think. Like, did I think that we were going to come down on June and, you know, 3-4 months later, that's when you actually got that break of 50 cents? Absolutely not. I did not think that. I did not expect that. I don't think anybody expected that. And to be honest, we kind of buried the whole ADA to 50 cent narrative once we started getting away. Like, once it started getting away from us, I was like, okay, that doesn't really make sense anymore. But it ended up being that I was absolutely correct about that call, okay? So how does this tie into the whole market? So if I think that USDT Dominance may actually roll over from here, which is bullish for the market. First of all, I don't think it's going to happen in one swift movement, okay? I think that we're going to actually end up getting a decent range here. We might actually get that PO3, this manipulation range up here, hang around here for a little while. Not too long because we are I mean, based on the 4-year cycle, which I don't necessarily believe in, but based on the 4-year cycle, we are approaching the end. Okay, maybe we get a prolonged one, maybe we don't. I have no idea. But I would be expecting somewhat of a range to form here. And then, you know, we can play that range, right? So you can see I have my Nexus levels here. I have my levels where I'm looking to giga long. I have my levels where I'm looking to giga short, etc. You know, and we'll see how it goes, right? But if I'm expecting that USDT Dominance could either range here and then eventually roll over and potentially hit my M1A zone at 3.67%, give or take, then this leg here from here to here would be your euphoric state. Okay, that would be your euphoria, which is, again, go back and watch those videos. I've had this labeled as euphoria from a very long time ago. Okay, that leg was going to be your euphoria, and that paired with the idea that Bitcoin dominance might actually drop relatively from this area as well leads me to believe a couple things. Let's talk about Bitcoin. Let's ignore all the TA for a moment, just the internal like scalping stuff. Don't worry about that. But let's talk about Bitcoin. Bitcoin came down and hit a very important level. Conversely to how USDT, well, not conversely, it's the same thing, but it hit the opposite level, right? Like USDT hit a very important supply zone, right? Bitcoin hit a very important demand zone. And in my opinion, Bitcoin hit the most very important demand zone prior to a bear market. Why? Because number one, you have a very clear as day Model 1 distribution up here. There is, at this point in time, minus this massive wick, which we're going to talk about in just a second, there's no reason to come back up here, truly. Like this could be the top forever, okay? Again, just being objective. But we do have that wick that we have to talk about, and we have to talk about how that wick hit demand, okay? Most of the time, when you get these wicks, they will usually fill some, if not all of the wick, okay? You're going to have to take my word for it. You don't want to, I encourage you to go check for yourself, but they do sometimes fill those wicks, okay? Now, if we jump down on a lower time frame on Bitcoin, we can see that over the weekend, right, Saturday, we had these very ugly lows, which we actually longed from, okay? In the Nexus, we longed from this. So I am long. I closed out most of it, but I did long from here. I didn't expect this to go all the way up to here, and definitely not this fast, but, you know, it is what it is, and whatnot. Right now, currently, I think that these lows are not safe, okay? I do think that we will see sub $110,000 Bitcoin again, and I do think that we could even potentially go lower, okay? The reason I think that is because sometimes these wicks get filled. And right now, I'm not a sentiment trader, but right now the sentiment is very aggressively, and is like, stick with me on this when I say this, it's very aggressively bullish right now. I know you might think, Gio, everybody just got absolutely flushed and destroyed and decimated. There's no way everybody's bullish. And I would say I'm inclined to agree with you, right? The market is definitely shocked right now. That's undeniable. However, at least what I'm seeing on Twitter is people saying, oh, okay, the mega flush is done. Now we're going to all-time high. And they're literally saying, and I shit you not when I say this, they're literally saying 100x long everything. I don't think it's going to be 100x long everything kind of play. I do think that Bitcoin may come back and take out these lows. And I do think that Bitcoin may even come back and take out this wick. Perhaps getting a fake out, hitting the naked daily point of control, which I don't really trade anymore, but coming down, maybe sweeping that low and then continuing higher. And I think that this may give you enough juice to send you to all-time high, okay? Because what people right now are doing is they are opening up their long tool. They are longing. They're putting their stop loss below that wick, thinking that the capitulation is over, the wick is over, and they're targeting, you know, 250K or whatever else Mickey Mouse people think that Bitcoin's going to go to for no absolute reason, okay? Maybe it does, and I hope it does, right? I hope I'm long for it. Anyway, that's what they're doing right now. And that's not, in my opinion, the safest or smartest play, because just because we have a big wick, as we've learned, that does not mean that that wick is safe. We've seen it plenty of times go back for that wick, okay? What other clues do we have for why we may roll over even more? Remember, Cardano, I was saying that I didn't think the low was in until these lows got taken out, okay? If you go and take a look at Ethereum right now has equal lows, okay? Ethereum has equal lows. But see, how does this all play in, right? Like, what am I even trying to say? Well, Bitcoin has equal lows, and then you can go to basically any altcoin, pick your poison, right? Let's just say, I don't know, Chainlink, and you have a massive wick here. So, Gio, am I saying that we're going to come for this wick across the board on altcoins? And my answer is no, okay? I do not think that these wicks are going to get filled on altcoin. Remember what I said in the beginning of the video, or a little bit into the video? I said that I believe that Bitcoin dominance is going to start to roll over, and that if USDT dominance rolls over as well, what does that mean if Bitcoin dominance starts to roll over? That basically just means that alts are going to bleed less than Bitcoin, right? When things go down, Bitcoin's going to bleed more. So I'm very much still in the state of, if you're going to long, probably longing the alts are going to be a better play for you, right? Let's take a look at Solana, for example. Today, Solana's up 4%, and Bitcoin is at break even, okay? So probably it's better to long altcoins when you are looking to long, okay? Especially because of that big capitulation wick, right? But when it's time to short, we are to short Bitcoin, in my opinion. Now, again, things can change, so don't hold me to it. Things change all the time. I've been wrong before. So far, when it comes to these kind of moves, I've been pretty spot on. So that's what I'm thinking right now. And so I'm thinking that Bitcoin may come and fill the wick. Ethereum may come and fill the wick, because those are the big caps. You know, Ethereum already had a run. I'm not saying that it's done by any stretch of any imagination, but Ethereum did have a new all-time high this year, right? This cycle. Whereas some of the other altcoins that have been absolutely hammered, not talking about Solana, things like, you know, the chain links of the world, or the, I don't know, Litecoins of the world. Like, all of these coins have been getting absolutely slaughtered this entire time. I do think that this is when, if they're going to have a run, now is probably going to be the time for them to run. Okay. So when it comes to longing, in my opinion, again, things can change, but we long alts, we short Bitcoin, at least until the foreseeable future. And for me, one of the very key levels that I'm looking at, longing, I know I just said when we long alts, but you can use Bitcoin in tandem with the market, right? Because it's very rare that Bitcoin is going to go down. Maybe it's break even like it is right now and the market goes up, fine. But it's very rare that Bitcoin goes down and the alts go up, right? Like, usually they're going to be in tandem, right? Like on Friday, we had a big crash. All the alts went down 80%, okay? So it's a nice reset that we got, okay? It's a nice reset that we got. But we can't say that we were not expecting it. We can say that we didn't expect it to happen in that way, okay? We didn't expect it to happen in that fashion, but we can't say that we didn't expect it. And we can't be ignorant. Guys, listen, I'm going to leave you with this. Again, on this channel, I've been openly bearish, and it's for reasons like this, okay? A lot of people made fun of me. A lot of people came and attacked me. I've even had a couple death threats. But, and I mean this with absolute respect, okay? Please don't take it condescendingly. But this is why I'm overly cautious. I know what these markets entail. And ever since, in my opinion, this cycle's been broken. Since Bitcoin hit all-time high pre-halving, the cycle's broken, okay? So is the cycle going to end in 4 years? Like, in 4 years? I have no idea, okay? Are we ever going to get another 4-year cycle? I have no idea, okay? Are we going to get a Great Depression in the 30s? Like, right now, it's obviously 2025. 100 years ago, it was, you know, during the 20s, it was the roaring 20s, and then the 30s was the Great Depression. Are we going to get that 100 years later? I don't know, right? Do the cycles, like, I have no idea. Crypto hasn't been around long enough to experience a true recession, right? And when things go down, because inevitably things will, right? Bitcoin's not going to be up here forever. When things go down and the cycle is over, is it going to rebound? I don't know, okay? I don't know the answers to these questions, and I don't make predictions anymore. I've learned my lesson the hard way. You guys have taught me that. I don't make predictions anymore. But this is why I've been openly cautious on my channel, okay? I've been openly cautious, and it's for exactly this reason. And it's not to tell you that I told you so, okay? But there are people on the internet that are literally, like, you know, kind of not here with us anymore, let's just call it, because of this. And, you know, finances are a huge thing in life. Money runs the world, obviously, but it's not everything. And there were ways to identify this, okay? So all I can say is that whether you rock with me or not, whether you agree with me or not, at least hear what either myself or someone else on the internet that has a good track record has to say, okay? Because, like, I had a good friend that lost basically everything from this drop, and it sucks. And I don't want this for you. I don't want this for me. I don't want this for my best friend, and I don't want this for my worst enemy, okay? But it's important to understand that this is how the game operates, okay? We chose this business. And, you know, I said it many times, you can't just belligerently long because it's a bull market. The world doesn't work like that. So, you know, we have a couple takeaways from this video and from what happened on Friday. It was a horrible thing, okay? People lost millions. People lost their lives, literally. People made millions, I'm sure. And, you know, there are signs. So just be open to all possibilities. So when I'm here and I'm talking about how I don't think the low on ADA is in until 50 cents, you know what? Maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong, but at least you have that looming in the back of your mind. When I'm here talking about all this liquidity on Solana and how can anybody be bullish, right? It's like, oh, higher lows, higher lows. Yeah, higher lows, but that's exactly when you get one swift move to the downside, these huge capitulations, okay? When like, just be aware of what is possible, okay? Because like I said, I've seen it. A lot of people lost a lot of money. My prayers go out to all of you. I have a good friend that lost everything and it only takes one move, guys. The exchanges go down, right? Stop loss don't get triggered. You're on cross by accident. Your account is wiped. It could take you literally, like, how fast did this move happen? This whole thing happened in what, an hour? the big drop in an hour, it was like 15 minutes or something. It could take you 30 minutes, 1 hour to lose the whole bull run that we've had so far. And yes, we've been in a bull run, guys. Don't be ignorant. Don't say, oh, I can't wait for the bull market to start. We've been in a bull market for almost 4 years. For 3 years, we've been in a bull market. Okay, since December of 2020 or November of 2022, we've been in a bull market. It's been 3 years, right? You can't just long belligerently. Okay, it takes one 15-minute candle. Oh, I know I'm on the 4-hour time frame, but it takes one 15-minute candle to obliterate all of your hard work for the entire bull run. Okay? Anyway, that's all I really have to say. If you lost a lot of money, don't worry. Back on the horse. Listen, back on the horse. Stay focused, though. Focused. You have to focus. Don't get so caught up in the noise. Okay? Don't attack the bears. People, like, the bears get a bad rep. And I know because like I said, I've been bearish on altcoins, and rightfully so. Who could tell me that I was wrong? Who could tell me that? You could tell me, but you'd be wrong. You'd sound foolish if you told me that I was wrong about any of this for the last 2 years. What I will tell you is I was wrong about Bitcoin. 100% I was wrong about Bitcoin. I thought that Bitcoin was going to do what all the altcoins now have been doing. And to be honest, and this is just my personal opinion, I think that it should have done it. I don't think that it's healthy. This run that Bitcoin had, I don't think that it's healthy. Okay, so if we apply the same logic in terms of liquidity and we talk about when the bear market comes, because there is going to be a bear market, guys, you know it and I know it. Let's not play pretend. We have nothing but liquidity that we can come for. Now, am I saying that that's going to happen to Bitcoin? Absolutely not. Okay, again, I told you I don't make predictions anymore. I've learned my lesson the hard way. But, don't dismiss that idea just because it doesn't apply with your narrative. And don't attack the bears, okay? Because sometimes the bears are just trying to look out. Just like me, okay? Sometimes the bears are just trying to warn you that you might have one more crypto flush, and it's not based on my opinion. It's based on the analysis. And sometimes I'm wrong, and maybe I am wrong. Fine, but at least you were prepared for it, right? At least someone that does this for a living, does this every single day with a proven track record in his network is saying, hey, like the stage is set right now for something big. Whether they take it or not is a different story, right? The bait is there. Do they bite it? I don't know. Right? We react to it, but it's there. Don't attack the bears, guys. Anyways, and don't attack the bulls either. Okay? I vow to be as real as I possibly can with you guys, and sometimes I'll be wrong, and I'm sorry if I've ever made you lose, and I'm glad if I've ever made you win, right? But just hear everybody out and be good to everybody, man. Like, this industry is already super scammy. It's already super dark. Like, this industry is dark, guys. We're in a dark game. Anyway, rant over, lecture over. I truly pray that you guys made it out alive. And if you didn't, then day one is right now, okay? It takes 1 day to start a win streak. It takes one trade to start a win streak. And it takes one trade to break a losing streak. So remember that. If you guys like the content, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe. Hit the notification bell for more video updates. I will be going live more consistently. I am starting to trade futures as well. Ironically, this move happened on the first day that I was trading futures. So I didn't even catch any of this move. Me, the perma bear. I wish I did, but I didn't. The signs were there, but I wasn't looking at that sign. I was looking at something else. Anyways, and if you're interested in joining the Nexus, which is my premium network, we do our live streams every morning. I take my trades every morning with them. I keep them updated in real time. They get my analysis. We do practicing the game streams where we practice all of the course content that you also get that's included in your membership. The link for that is in the description down below as well. Enter thenexus.com. My friends, stay happy, stay wealthy, stay healthy. God bless, and I will see you guys in the next video. One love.